I got dressed, went out the door. Just like 100 million zillion times before. I got my car horned up, I headed off to work. In the eye on my side mirror, I went berserk.
A few months ago, back in November, I went to feature an album in my group, Billy Bob's Punk and Ska Album of the Month. It was a Goodbye Harry album. Food Stamp Barbecue. And I reached out to Scott Reynolds to try to score an interview, and unfortunately he was too busy at the time, right? And since then we had been communicating back and forth trying to find a time to do that. Well, the other day we actually found that said opportunity, and I managed to capture it all on film. So what you're about to see is my interview with Scott Reynolds. Segue into it now.
If you're touching Mary, please don't look at me, 'cause she's never seen me before. Don't draw attention to the man I'm fighting with, 'cause she can cut my hair off the picket of an iron.
How did you get started in music? Was Three Car Pile Up your first band?
Oh, no. I was in a band in high school with my brother called the Creeps. I played drums. He played bass. We did cover songs like the Kinks and old Who songs and some Stones and Yardbirds, crap like that. And then a few of our own. And then every once in a while we'd play we did Monkey Man specials and shit like that. And then in college, I was in a band, or started a band called XXY, and I played drums in that until I realized I didn't want to play drums anymore. I don't like playing drums. It's too much pressure, you know? Like, if you play drums, you're the one guy in the band that can't fuck up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everything falls apart. So it was too much pressure, so I decided to try to be a singer. So I shifted to singer, and then XXY. Then I was in a band called Local Trauma with my best friend after college when I got back home. And then that turned into Art Tantrum, it was called. Then I was in a band called Boxer Rebellion with Tony Lombardo. I moved out to Los Angeles. I was in with Tony Lombardo, Boxer Rebellion, and then after that was Three Car Pile Up, and then all.
Okay, are there any recordings of any of this survive? I mean, as far as the Three Car Pile Up, I can only find 2 songs online.
I don't know if there's any more. I don't have any recordings. No, Boxer Rebellion, we never recorded anything. We went out on the Descendants final tour, opening for them for a couple of weeks or something, and then the band fell apart on tour because everybody was fighting. So, yeah. So I don't think there's anything. No. Which is probably not a bad thing.
Okay. So is there any more than the 2 or 3 songs of the Three Car Pile Up that I found? Because one of them was the original version of Mary, if I recall correctly.
Right. We did Mary. We did No Traffic. I don't think I don't know. I don't even know how those are. I haven't looked for them. I don't want to hear them.
It's not to say we did. Back in life like the old days. You just born but not a virgin. Shit what? Yes, no. Life is exactly you fill in the blank. Do not see what not to do, what not to know. Get ready, do anything, even if it's wrong. Who cares why? Why the hell not?
Okay. Okay, so then you ended up in All. How did all that go down?
Well, it's a long story. Let's see. When I got out of college, one thing I really wanted to do was play music, write songs and stuff. And there were lots of punk rock bands around then that I kind of related to. And the Descendants was one of the ones I related to the most. And My Love Goes to College is still, to this day, one of my all-time favorite records. I think it's almost a a practically perfect record. I just love it. And so I got out of school, out of college, and my dad, I was living at my dad and mom's house, and my dad, kicked me out. He was like, you got to go and do something. You can't just hang around our house. So I had my best friend Dana, he's the one that introduced me to a lot of the punk rock and the Misfits and the Ramones and all that shit, DOA and Dead Kennedys and all that. And he also introduced me to the Descendants. And back then they used to do a newsletter. They put a newsletter out. And I was living near Buffalo, New York. And Dana gave me a newsletter that he had that said, all their bullshit about their tours and stuff. And it also said Tony Lombardo, the original bass player, was looking for a singer. And Dana's like, you should try out. He needs a singer. And so one night I called from the number on the newsletter and I said, hey, I'm a singer. I'd like to try out for your band. And he said, cool. When can you try out? Where do you live? And I said, Buffalo. And he said, Buffalo, New York? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, call me when you get out when you're in LA. I mean, you're in Buffalo. What are you going to do? Come to practice. So he said, my dad kicked me out. And he should have. I was being a bum. And so I drove out to Los Angeles and just sort of showed up. I called Tony. I said, hey, it's Scott. And he said, the guy from Buffalo? And I said, yeah. And he said, and I said, I want to try it out. And he said, well, where do you live? And I said, Hollywood. I live in Hollywood. So I ended up in Hollywood because I didn't really know the area, and the type of person I am, I don't do my homework. So I didn't do my homework. So I ended up signing a year lease in an apartment in Hollywood, which is, probably an hour by car or less if there's no traffic, but there's never no traffic in Los Angeles. So, so I had to drive clear out to the South Bay to try out for this band and practice. And he liked what I did, and so on the way I sang, so we got in there, played in the band, drove out for practice every day and every night. Then that band broke up, and I got another band that practiced in the same practice space, which was where the Descendants' offices were and stuff. And Bill recorded me singing Three Car Pileup, and he liked the way I sang. And I remember one day he came up to me and he heard that version of Mary, and he looked at me and he goes, hey, who wrote Mary? And I was like, I did. And he goes, and he walked away, just like that. And then, Descendants turned into All. Smalley was in All. Smalley quit All. And I remember Dave said to me before they went out on tour, he said, you're going to be the next singer. I don't want to do this anymore. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm in a band, and I can't quit my band. We practice all the time. And so Bill called. I was working in their office, doing a terrible job. And Bill called, and I answered the phone, and he said, and I thought he was pissed at me because I fucked everything up back then. I mean, I fucked everything up. Still do, but not for Bill anymore. But anyway. So I thought he was going to chew me a new asshole for something I'd done wrong. And he said, hey, you want to sing for All? Smalley quit. And I said, no, I can't. And I remember when it doesn't matter. I had gone out on tour with them, and I become friends with Stefan especially, and Bugface, the roadie. He and I were good friends early on. So I was friends with those guys, and so I knew him. And then when Bill asked me, and I said no, he was like, I don't get it. And I said, well, I have a commitment to these people. We've been practicing 6 days a week, and I'm nothing if I'm at least not loyal. And he said, yeah, but you moved out here to play music, and you lived like an animal in your car, which I did. I slept in my car. And, I don't get it. You want to make records. The first thing you'll do in this band when I get back is you'll make a record, and you want to go on tour. The next thing you'll do is go on tour. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you came out here to find us, and now we're asking you to be in the band, and you're saying no. He said, he remembers. He said, I will call you tomorrow, and I'll ask you again. Then after that, I'm not going to ask you anymore. And he hung up. And I called everybody. And everybody said, what are you, stupid? Join the band. So he called the next day, and I said yes. And after that, the rest, as they say, is history.
Awesome.
It's a long story.
I have another question. I was reading an article, an interview you gave back in the mid-90s sometime, where I guess you played a show with Green Day, and they referred to you guys as rock stars.
Yeah, that happened. That was in with us, MDC. Remember them?
Millions Dead Cops.
Yeah, and Green Day, and it was a fairly large stage. It was in up in Northern California, Humboldt County kind of area, and there were two drum risers, 3 bands, 2 drum risers, and us and MDC were the drum risers were for us because we were headlining. Because at the time nobody really knew who Green Day was except up in Berkeley and stuff, and so Bugface was like set Bill's drums up, taped them all down, got them all ready. That was the whole point. They were rolling drum risers. The whole fucking point of them is so you don't have to set up the drums, right?
Yeah.
Set them up for sound check, roll them off, one band, roll them off, other band, right? So, but it was a big stage. So the deal was the two kind of headlining bands got the drum risers, the opener set up in front of the drums. I mean, happens all the time. They're a 3-piece and nobody knew who they were, and they wanted to use a drum riser. And Bugface is like, I taped everything down. What the fuck do you think is going on here? So I'm sorry that that's how it works, but if we played plenty of shows where we set up in front of the drum riser. The whole point is that so you don't have to set the drums up. And they lost their shit. They called us names and everything else. Whatever, Green Day, whatever.
That's fun.
Goodbye, Harry. What's gonna do with all your night? We don't much feel like no more. Ain't the phonics, but sometimes when you see it, you just can't believe it.
So tell me about Goodbye Harry. I love those 2 albums. They're like 2 of my top favorite albums.
Oh, well, good. Thanks. Goodbye, Harry. Well, I quit the band in, 93, 92 or something. Moved out to Washington because I had a girl out there. She had a little baby who became my daughter and all that. And started a band out there. And Mike the Pike, our roadie, played bass in the first incarnation. And Tony Reed played drums. He was with Tree People. And a guy named Artie Gillette played guitar, and he was just from town, from Bremerton. He was a shredder, a really good guitar player, a friend of Mike's, and we just started this band, and then we made Food Stamp Barbecue.
Which is a great album.
Thank you. Yeah, we named it that because that's what a lot of our friends would do is they get their food stamps and have a barbecue. It was like, geez, guys, I wasn't on food stamps, I never did it. But anyway, so we did Food Stamp Barbecue. Then we were supposed to go out on tour with that, and everybody flaked. Well, Tony Reed didn't flake. He told me from the start he wasn't going to tour. So we had to find a new drummer, and while we're looking for a new drummer, Artie and Mike just completely flaked and didn't show up for anything and stuff. So it came down to time to tour, and we just weren't ready, and I was freaking out, shitting my pants, and I invested a bunch of my own money into it, and I had an obligation to Greg Ginn. And so I called Greg, from SSD guy, Black Flag, Mr. Black Flag. I called him and I said, I don't have a band anymore. I can't get these guys together. There was stuff involved. I don't want to get into it, but it was pretty not cool. And I said, I got to cancel this tour. And he was really understanding. And he said, let me get another group together, and we'll make another record if you'll let us, and we will tour. Well, I got another band together, and we toured first. That's right. We didn't make the record yet. And Trevor Lanigan from My Name and Wretch Like Me, one of my favorite guitar players and a very good friend. He's since passed away. He had brain cancer, but he called me and he said, I heard your band fell apart. I said, yeah. He said, we know. I answered, and he goes, dude, I want to be in your band. That's what he said. First thing he said. And I was elated because I just love the way he plays guitar. So we got him, and then we got Kelly Mickelson. He was just a good friend of Trevor's, guy in town. And then Chris came along. He was we needed a drummer. We had a drummer we took out on tour that didn't work out, and then we needed a drummer for the record. So I had an online contest, and Chris came or sent me a video of him playing, and he was insanely good. So we had the second incarnation, and our second incarnation sounded nothing like the first incarnation. Those two records don't sound like, except for the fact that I'm singing. It doesn't even sound like the same band to me at all. But like the first one is more kind of straight up 4/4 punk rock, and the second one is more kind of crazy. There's some straight up punk.
It's a great album too. I Can Smoke. Oblivion's one of my favorite tracks. I was jamming to it on the way home from work. Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's just me on a guitar, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I requested it during one of your live streams, but you couldn't remember it at the time.
Yeah, that one. I'll learn that for you.
Awesome.
It can't be very hard because at the time I couldn't hardly even play guitar, and I remember I was playing it, and they go, "Why don't you go in there and record it?" And I was like this and this, yeah. So I did, but Oblivion. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I love that.
I ever had a big little ring, bigger than you've ever seen. Now when I woke up, there was a big monster. I ever had a ring, yeah, and a ding. But when I woke up, there was a big monster. A big monster.
Yeah, and I was also reading that same article where we were talking about Green Day. Your daughter helped you write a song on that album? Monster
Ding Ding. Yeah. Sort of. I mean, at the time, she was just a peanut. She could barely talk. She could talk, but she. Anyway, she would sing these nonsense songs, and so she sang that one. I ever have a big little ring, and I remember she used to always do that. I ever have a. And so she's I ever have a big little ring. Bigger than you ever seen, and when I woke up, there was a big monster. So I was like, wait, slow down. Next thing I know, we had a song. And then, of course, the guys, I wouldn't be in a band that wasn't into playing something like that, So I showed up and go, hey, look at this song me and Megan wrote. And they're like, oh, we got to learn that. So it was on the record, Monster Ding Ding. Yeah.
Great stuff. That's great stuff. Pavers. Let's move on to the Pavers. Tell me about the Pavers.
Pavers. Okay, so after I left Washington and moved back to Buffalo area. And when I first got here, this would be I don't know when the Pavers shit came out, but late 90s, right?
Yeah.
And
98?
What's that?
Or 98, if I recall correctly. Somewhere in
That
there.
sounds about right, yeah. So, it's me and my wife and our daughter, and Goodbye Harry was supposed to come back with me. So the house I bought was a duplex. I was going to do a house for my family and then house those guys upstairs. But they flaked and didn't come. So I had his house that I lived in with my wife and daughter. And we lived in a downstairs apartment and had an upstairs apartment that nobody lived in. And didn't know what to do. So I tried out people and I called people and stuff. And then I kept getting phone calls. And back then, you had the answering machine. And I get a call from a number in Buffalo. And they just wouldn't leave a message. They just would not leave a message. And I was like, and I wouldn't answer it, So I'd look at the answering machine. I'd push the button. Nothing. Finally, they called and I picked up and I go, who the fuck is this? What is going on? Why are you calling me? And it was a guy named Tim Patterson. And Tim is the greatest person ever. He's just an awesome guy. And he said, hey, we have a band and I don't know how he even got my number. I don't remember. And we would like you to know if you would like to try out, or if we could try to be your band, or you could maybe you could sing. And I said, you know what, man? Send me some music. So he sent me a cassette tape, because that's what happened back then. And I listened to it, and I was like, wow, I really like these songs. And I called him back, and I said, hey, I like this stuff. Can I sing whatever I want? And he said, yeah, sing whatever you want. I said, because I don't want anybody to write anything for me to sing. I just want to come up with my own shit. He said, no. And I said, okay, I'm going to come up to practice and watch you guys play. And then, if you don't suck, if you're actually, okay, then we'll move on. So I went up and I watched them play, and Mark Galley was on bass, Tim was on guitar, Eric Tuberdike was on the other guitar, and they had a drummer. I don't know his name, but I didn't like the way he played drums. He played too soft. I was just wanting to do it. So I said to Tim, we went out in the hallway, and I said, I like you guys. You guys are good. I don't like the drummer. I said, if we have a different drummer, maybe we got a deal. And Tim was like, okay, because I thought they were all good friends, and then he'd be like, oh. But he was like, and he thought I was going to say I didn't like Mark, because Mark, they had taught him to play bass. But he was quite fast and quite good. I mean, his fingers were good. And I was like, no, he's fine. So anyway, so then we had me and those three guys and no drummer. And I went to a place here in the town I live in, and at a bar, and I saw this band called Counterclockwise. And Josh, our drummer, was playing drums, and I thought he was really good. So I called him and I said, I saw a drummer last night. I want to snag him. He's really good. And they said, who? And I told them. And they said, that's Josh. I know Josh. And they called him, and he was into it. And then the rest, as they say, is history. So we became the band. And then we just started practicing all the time at my house. Then I moved, we made a few records. We made some EPs, and then we made Local 1500 and Return to the Island of No Return. And then I moved to, then the band broke up because things just weren't working right and I wasn't making any money. That's what always happens. I hit a wall, and it's like, I can't afford to do this. I'm going to try something else. So I got in a different band, or I was in a band called the Bonesaw Romance for a little bit.
I was going to ask about them.
Yeah, it was a rock band. And I liked it. We did one record. But then my wife was just dying to get out of Buffalo. So we moved to Austin, and that dried up. Austin, Texas. And then I lived there for like 11 years and shit went tits up, and I got a divorce and kids moved away, and I came back home, and now the Papers are playing again. So we're going to make another record. So.
Really? That's awesome. I saw that you guys were active.
Just finalized a practice space where we all can, it's kind of right in between where we all live. So we're going to start practicing hard at it within the next couple weeks.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
What happened with Fast Gato?
Well, Fast Gato, back, I called Greg and I wanted an advance on whatever royalties I had covered, which I don't make any money, so I wasn't sure he would go for it. And he said, I got a better idea. I want to make a record. Greg and I he's always liked the way I sing, and he's one of my favorite guitar players. So he's like, why don't you sing on we'll make a record. And I said, okay. And he said, and I'll pay you up front. And he paid me a certain amount, so I couldn't ask for any more. I didn't get a piece of the record. It was a bad deal, but the record sucked, so it was okay. So I went, and then we did the record, and he had this drummer, or he didn't have a drummer, he had to do it with a drum machine, because he didn't have a drummer. So I sang to this drum machine. He played his crazy music. It came out like it came out or whatever. But then he got a drummer. This guy, Greg. Greg's a great guy, but he's not the tightest drummer on it. And he was playing to a drum machine. So when the record came out, he had gotten off from the drum machine. Greg had recorded all the tracks, then recut his guitar to his drumming, which wasn't on with the click, and he didn't adjust my vocals. So my vocals are all off time, off whatever, while those guys are playing together. And I was like, oh my God, this can't come out. And he put it out anyway. So I'm glad no one's heard it. It's really terrible.
Steaming Beast album was pretty cool. Tell me about that.
Okay, so that was me and a bunch of other people. The Pavers played on some. Stephen Drost from the Flaming Lips played on a couple. My friend Dave Fridman recorded it. He has a studio near here. He records the Flaming Lips, and he records. He's done all kind of shit. He's done OK Go, and he was on was on a Weezer thing years ago, and he I'm having brain farts, but Sleater Kinney, he made a Sleater Kinney record, and anyway, he's quite a good producer and a good friend, and he did it. It was me and him, and Stephen Drost, and the Pavers did a couple, Drag the River did one, and just I called it the Steaming Beast because I figured at the time I was never going to have a real band, so I would just whoever I played with, I would call the Steaming Beast, And Steaming Beast was named my youngest daughter. One time, I was giving her a bath. She was really little, maybe 3 years old, and her head was back under the water. And she sat up on the water, and she goes, "You farted," and I said, "No, I didn't." And she said, "Yeah, you did." And I said, "No, I didn't." And I said, "Your ears were under the water. You couldn't hear it anyway." And she said, "I saw it." And I said, "You saw my fart?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "What did it look like?" And she said, "It looked like a steaming beast." So I was like, okay, well, that's the name of the record, or the name of the band. But anyway, the Steaming Beast thing was just one record, and it came out. And it's kind of interesting because, like I said, Dave records the Flaming Lips and things like that. And of course, Steven was in the Flaming Lips, and he played a bunch of the instruments. So it's a different sounding thing, But I wrote all the songs. I always do, And I can play the songs. So now that I run around with my acoustic guitar, I play the songs from that record too,
Stupid, 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 stupid. Stupid is as stupid does. Stupid will be, stupid was. Stupid's everywhere at any time because it's a stupid world.
Stupid World was a fun album.
I love that record. I recorded that in my bedroom on GarageBand. You know GarageBand?
Yeah.
It comes with my computer. I recorded the whole thing on GarageBand in my bedroom. Stefan, thank God, helped me fix my drum sounds. But I played all the instruments except on that one song. What is it? What is that song with Stefan on it? When I'm right, then you are right, or what is that song? Anyway, there's one song on it that I didn't play everything. But all the other ones, I played all the instruments, and I produced it the best I could. Stefan fixed up my drum sounds, and then I had my friend Dave and his son master it here. And I love that record. I'm really proud of that record.
Yeah, it turned out pretty awesome. And real quickly, let's talk about your new album because we're starting to run out of time here. I'm not sure when it's going to cut me off.
Chihuahua and Buffalo?
Chihuahua and Buffalo, yeah.
Well, that's just me on guitar, singing the way I do when I go out on tour now. Just me and my guitar. And I went to the blasting room and Bill recorded it for me because he's a good friend. Bill and I are pretty much best friends these days. He's one of my best friends, you know, I can say from my perspective. And I think the reverse is true. So, you know, we get along good, so went out and just had fun. And yeah, it's Chihuahua and Buffalo. It's just me and my nylon string acoustic guitar singing songs. And I like that record quite a bit too. But I have a new record coming out. Bill's on that one, and Bill plays drums and bass. I play electric guitar. There's a stand-up bass that another guy plays. I don't have his name in front of me right now. But there's 2 songs with him playing bass and Bill just playing drums. And then there's a guy who plays piano and trombone, and it's and Olga from the Toy Dolls plays a guitar solo because he's one of my favorite guitar players of all time. And I asked him, I said, "Would you play it?" And he didn't know me from shit. And he said, "Send me the song," and I did. And I sent him the song, and he did an amazing guitar solo. So that's coming out, and it's going to be called Magic Beans and Time Machines. And yeah, things are going good. And then the Favors are back to work. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Music, you know.
It's not my fault, it wasn't up to you. Christmas Eve comes once a year, and that will never do. Your image started fading, so I closed my eyes to see. Tell me, do you close your eyes for
I
me?
read somewhere that they're, I watched a video. They're making a documentary.
Well, yeah, one of the guys, Matt Riggle from Filmage, just likes my songs, and so it's sort of it's like an online concert mixed with the documentary, so it goes from back and forth. But Bill's on it talking, Stefan's on it talking, Milo talking, Steven from Flaming Lips talking, Phil Beard, who's a very great author, is talking. Joe Jack Talcum from Dead Milkmen is talking. Miles Stevenson, Bill's son, is talking. Zach from Rise Against. I don't know who else. He talked to some other people, and it's all just explaining me and my writing process. It's pretty cool. As from my perspective, I know all those stories, so I don't know how interesting it is.
I get all emotional, then I have my little fit. Pick up my remote control, fiddle with it. Well, I don't wanna act that way again. No, I don't wanna act that way and piss off all my friends again.
Later.
Whoever watches, thank you for watching.
Word.
For giving a shit, all that stuff.